Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 9 of Miscellaneous Candor. Frank, honest, and otherwise outspoken. I can't believe we actually have done this for 9 straight weeks. This is great. Every week we keep getting more followers. So I just want to encourage people to subscribe and also please leave a review. Let us know how you think we are doing. We want your feedback. We want to hear it. This week, it's myself and Stephen Kennedy again. Yes, I do think he's going to end up being, a permanent host, but we're just going to let him be how he is, and he likes to be a special guest host, so that's fine, that's fine. But we love having him on the show. So sit back, listen, definitely know we're going to have fun, and keep listening. Thanks so much. All right, here we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Episode 9. I'm Robbie. Here again this week. Miscellaneous Candor. Frank, honest, and otherwise outspoken. And guess what, everyone? We have our special guest host back with me. Hi, Stephen.
Hello, how are you, Robbie? And how are you, people? It's good to be back as your number one guest host.
Thank you, thank you. It's always good we can have these conversations. I think next week though we're gonna have another guest, so that will be good too for our audience. But we have some good conversations. Let's just jump in, everyone. Let's just in. Okay, here we go.
You say let's just vent?
Podcast. I said jump in,
Oh,
not
okay.
vent.
Oh, okay. But can we
Okay.
vent? Can we vent too? Because I feel like it's healing for us and for our listeners. Anyway, sorry. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. So how about can we like vent for? Can we wait to vent? Can we
Okay.
just talk about our first subject first, and then we can vent?
Sure.
Oh, you sound so disappointed. Okay, okay. Sorry, people. This is what we do. So, um, this week, podcast. All right. So we're actually taping a little later than I we usually do. And I was able to listen to another podcast in between the time that we normally take. So I found this
Yeah.
podcast called Brilliant Idiots. Have you heard of it, Stephen? No, you probably
No, but it sounds like something I'd like to listen to.
haven't. Yeah, so it is Charlemagne the God and this guy named Adam Schultz and some
Okay.
other people. And they're just on there, just talking mess. It's really good though. And so they dive deep and go down rabbit holes. But it's,
Yes.
I like it because
It
it's
sounds
just,
similar to ours.
yes, it's definitely of the same vein. But they don't they don't have like, how we have focused topics that we try to stay on. They don't do that. It's just like whatever. It
Oh,
literally. And they can do that, right? Because
yeah.
Charlemagne has such a big
They're right. Yeah,
presence and yeah,
he's at
yeah.
that
So
point.
exactly. So they can do it. But I do think that you would like that one. It's called The Brilliant Idiots.
Okay, I'm gonna listen to it. I mean, I'm
Okay.
I'm impressed that you're able to listen to another podcast in between. I think I grilled a hot dog.
Well, I like podcast world. So that's why I like reviewing them. But this one I thought was actually pretty good, as I mentioned, if you like that type of thing. Just conversation, people kind of going down rabbit holes, that sort of thing. And they do have some smart insights and some funny things too. It's definitely funny. So it was good to listen to. Then, of course, I listened to my standard Prop G Markets Pivot podcast, like I
Mhm.
always do. Um, they were talking about this week. Um, so on Pivot, it was so actually, I think Scott Galloway talked about this on Pivot and his podcast, but he was talking about how basically Tim Cook is like how Apple is all people love Apple and they think it's so great. but basically that Tim Cook is like your really handsome, nice looking drug dealer outside of the school. I was like, oh my
What?
God, yes. And
Okay.
Cara was like, okay, Scott, you've gone too far. But
That's a bit extreme.
I
A bit
know.
extreme.
And then he was like, Mark Zuckerberg is like your hardcore drug dealer, like he's your guy, your corner boy. And I was just like, oh my God. He's like, Tim Cook's running the show. And Carr was like, okay, Scott, okay. It was a bit extreme, but his point was just the horrible addictive nature of
I yeah.
the phone
Yeah,
and
I
everything.
agree from one perspective, but look, they are taking technology, both of those guys, the hardcore drug dealer and the guy standing outside the middle school selling drugs, both of them are taking technology and our society as a whole to a whole other level, right? So, people can, no matter what you do, people are going to criticize you, right? And it's just part of the game. But, look at how much they're doing. Look what kind of change they're bringing to society.
I know. I mean,
I will
it's
consume those drugs as much,
as much as possible.
I have
I'm
no problem consuming those drugs.
I mean, I shouldn't laugh. I hear what you're saying because I too, I mean, to say that I'm not have some sort of addiction to my phone would be a lie, right? Because I'm on it constantly, even though I don't use it all the time, if that makes sense. It's so much a part of things that I need to do. If I need it for an alarm, if I need it for, checking my calendar, if I need it for going
Yeah,
directions place, right? So I'm always on it in some capacity, even if I'm not on
yeah.
Instagram or
It
something else.
it makes our lives super efficient. That, it's that one device, so it's not necessarily that we're hooked on it, but we use it to make our life more efficient, more productive, right?
I cannot agree with you. I mean, I mean saying this, I cannot disagree with you on that. You're 100% right. I don't even know how I would find something now if I didn't
Right,
have
right.
navigation on my phone,
Yeah.
you know.
Let me
I
ask you
remember
this.
when that didn't exist. Like I'm old enough to remember when that didn't exist.
Oh,
And
me
you
too.
didn't have right,
Not as old as
exactly.
you. Not as old as you, but
Whatever, whatever. We're in the same damn generation. Shut up.
let me get your opinion on this. So
Yes,
there's a lot of responsibility, social responsibility that's being put on Zuckerberg, for example, for
yes.
you know being responsible in terms of what they are putting out there, and a lot of politicians are pointing fingers and saying you are at fault for this and that. Well, I don't I don't see it that way. Look, we are, in the end, your companies can put out all sorts of products. In the end, we are the ones that are responsible for our own lives, right? When it comes to children, the parents are responsible for monitoring, and they have to for children they have to figure out ways to monitor effectively. It's a new world, but we have to evolve our ways of monitoring our children, making sure that they're using the tools without not in excess and inappropriately. So I only put a certain amount of social responsibility on Zuckerberg, not the level of responsibility that so many politicians are putting on them. And it's funny when you watch these sessions, right, on TV, on C-SPAN or whatever. It's funny, these politicians have no idea what they're talking about. They don't even understand the very basics of the technology that they are trying to yell at Zuckerberg for. It's entertaining, actually.
So you're right. They don't understand Blupskis, as people would. I've heard that on a show before. I don't even know what that means,
Is that the
but they
same thing?
don't, they don't understand it about what's happening with these technology types of innovations. And but we disagree, of course. Um, I understand what you're saying, but I do think that now this is to your point about us being animals, and one of the things that where
Oh,
that is true is the fact
oh,
of us always forming groups and tribes and ways like just groups that we form. We tend to do that as human beings. We want to interact and connect. That's a part of who we are as
yeah,
human beings. Like that is biological.
yeah,
And Zuckerberg created this as a way for connection because he didn't have a lot of connection when he was in college. I mean, we all saw the movie and all that kind of stuff, right?
yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, it was based upon that. I think it even got out. I don't think that he could have foresaw what this was going to be. No
Right.
one
It's an
could have
evolution.
foreseen what this was going to be. It's one thing to start something and one of kept connections and book, and then now literally the entire world uses it, whether they're on Facebook or Instagram, right? Like billions of people are using this. The problem with that is because it's so new and it was so innovative, it got out of everyone's hands. But now we're acting too late, I think, in terms of a pullback. I do believe that there needs to be some sort of guardrails, particularly for younger people. Like I already feel, I mean, like you don't have kids, right? But I do have a kid, and I feel like she was one of the guinea pigs for a lot of this stuff,
Hmm.
and
That age bracket.
that age bracket, and it bothers me. And I don't. Sometimes I beat myself up
But
about it.
that's going to be the case with everything, right? I mean, you were
No, it's
you know,
not.
when the
No, 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 no,
experimental
no,
group
no,
for
no.
television, converting from radio to television.
No, no, it's not. See, this is the whole thing. It's not though,
That's a joke.
because they're
That's a joke.
liter. I know it's a joke. I get you're joking, but to our point, and we're kind of moving into a conversation about AI. And I say this because I was watching a television show, and there's this guy on there named Yuval Noah Harari, and he's actually an Israeli military historian, intellectual writer, um, and he just looks at like long layers of history, right?
Hmm.
And he was just talking about on this, and he's been talking about how one thing with other types of things, so for example, people, it's controversial to say vaccines, but even still, you say vaccines, people test them. They test them. There's some sort of testing, control groups, all of that, right?
Yeah.
That happens. With the algorithms, we just release them and say engage.
Hmm.
And our kids are, my kid, are the guinea pigs. And then years down the line is when we're going to see what that really means, right? In the meantime, you have this whole generation of kids that people are calling lazy now. They don't know how to they don't have conversations. They know how to do anything because
Hmm.
of this technology. And
Well,
I think that if, look, I hate to say this, but I'm being very practical. I'm not sure what can be done about my daughter and others. I would say that one thing I did do was put her in sports, and I think that that helped
yeah.
because that allowed her to literally have large blocks of time where she was not even engaging with her phone,
Hmm.
right? When she has to like focus in on interaction and actually having conversation with people,
Yeah.
right? But doesn't mean that she still is not affected by it. But for those that don't, and people who have lost kids because of this, because of going down those rabbit holes, I do think that there needs to be some accountability. And I do think that, you know, they should do, I know they're trying to do things now, but they should put something in place. There are ways they can stop things. It's just going to stop the money. Like they're not going to make as much money.
Yeah.
There are ways for them to put guardrails in place and still make money. It's just not
Well,
going to be as much. And that's the issue. That's the
is
issue.
it
And I'm
is
a capitalist. I'm not going to sit up here and say that I don't
oh,
think
I
that
know
people
you're
shouldn't
you're a
they
capitalist
should. But
elitist. We've
if
established
there's
that.
no one around for you to make money for, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah. But wait, let's back up for a second. Is it
Are you
really
talking? I can't
Oh,
hear you again.
you can't hear me?
We can't hear you, Stephen.
Can
Move
you hear
wherever.
me?
Now I can. You moved and
Oh,
you came back. Okay.
no,
What were you
sorry.
saying?
That sucks because I interrupted you like 5 times, and unfortunately, it didn't get picked up.
Okay. Well, the floor is yours now. So what were you saying?
Let's see. What I was saying was, let's take a step back. Is it really the fault of Facebook or Meta, or is it when you're talking about kids that have been lost, right, due to social media and they don't have social skills, they don't know how to talk, they don't want to talk? Is it really the responsibility of Meta, or is it the responsibility of the parent? And this is happening. Is it the fault of the parent because they found a fun little tool that prevents their kid from whining and just quickly puts them, sets them, settles them down, and they get engaged, right? I mean, where's that? We didn't when we were growing up. You and me, we didn't have that, right? When we were kids, and our parents managed it. So nowadays, a lot of parents are like, "Oh, wow, this will keep them quiet for a while," and then when the kids get hooked, then it goes too far, and then the parents get frustrated. Oh, my kid doesn't want to talk. They don't engage with us. Blah blah blah. Well, guess why it happened? Because you tried to take the easy way out of parenting. Now,
Okay.
I don't
Keep
claim
going.
I'm not a parent myself, and for good reason, because I hate children. But if
That's
I
another episode, people.
if I if I decided I am going to have a child, I would put the time into raising that child. And that's why I don't want children, because of it takes a lot of time and effort and work, and I am far too selfish. And I think there are so many parents out there that need to say, let's stop and think, am I too selfish to have children and spend all the time? If yes, then I should not have children. But society dictates otherwise. So,
Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. And I did, because we're still kind of talking about AI algorithms and podcasts. Oh, so it's one thing that Galloway says, and I agree because I live this. I'm not talking about giving, like, I agree with you about giving the kids something so that they're quiet. Like, that doesn't work. And I didn't do a lot of that. She had it, like the iPad sometimes when she was little, but a lot of times I just dealt with her being crazy. Let me just be honest, a crazy toddler when she was little, right? She was wonderful, but they're they're crazy when they're little. They are. That's just all of
and
them.
that's
Doesn't
why
matter.
I don't
But
consider.
I know you don't want kids, but that's not my point. My point is that unless you're like really, really wealthy or you can block your kids off, because like a lot of these people, here's the one thing. Most of these people who had kids, they don't have let their kids have devices. Zuckerberg doesn't let his kids have devices. Gates never let his kids have devices. And his kids didn't get a phone until they were 15 or 16, right?
Hmm.
But they could do that because of who they are. Regular old Robbie and her kid, right? She's going to the high school down the street or the junior high school down the street. When they're adolescents and they're in junior high and they're high school, you remember how that was. It's a crazy time. Like you don't know, you're trying to figure out all the
Hmm.
stuff and blah blah blah. And then you
Hmm.
add that phone on it. It becomes something they are ostracized, literally ostracized if they don't have a phone. Not
Yeah,
only
that's
are they ostracized and bullied to a degree, but even if they don't have a phone, all the other friends have a phone. So they're just going to look on their friends' phones anyway.
hmm
So you're not really, unless there's like a huge, so this whole movement now of not having phones in school, I 100% am on board with it. Lock them up,
yeah,
for lack
absolutely.
of a better term.
I agree.
Oh, so that's my stance on that part. But you're right about the
Well,
people who try to parent with the devices. That's ridiculous.
so what you're saying is today's iPhone is yesterday's Air Jordans. Is that what you're telling me? And I get it. I get what you're
Oh
saying.
my God,
No,
no, it's a
no,
little
I mean,
deeper than that.
that's what no, I think it's a great analogy because you're talking about the social pressures when you go to school. When back in the '80s, back in the '90s, if you didn't have Air Jordans, it was tough.
It was my. I mean, those were shoes. This is not like a mini computer on your feet where you were actually flying. I mean, I
But I mean,
get
that's
that
the
you
idea. Is
wanted
that
to
you've got to be part
fly.
of the. You gotta have the cool stuff. There's a lot of social pressure.
Yes, yes. And then there's some people too who want their kids to have a phone so that they can get in touch with them. And then too, you add
Yeah.
on top of that the school shootings and crap like that, right? Like there's there's all of that. So
There's also other
again,
devices. You don't have to have a smartphone to be able to call your child. Like my
you
sister's
could have a flip
kids
phone.
have a little device on their watch that she can call them with. Um, yeah.
Yes,
Anyways,
and that's fine, and that's the thing. But they created those things because of what's happened to like my daughter's generation,
oh yeah, yeah,
right? So
true.
that people are learning to do things with this, and also too, some of the kids don't even want to be on the phone a lot. Like my daughter now, she will put on Do Not Disturb. I'm glad that she is still playing sports
Hmm.
at her age. So again, there's air times when she just is like not available. And
Yeah.
I'm okay with that, right? Like I'm good with that.
Hmm.
So because I think it's good for her well-being, but there's a part of me sometimes that wonders about her well-being because of the constant images and algorithms and things that she sees. And I have to say, because I'm addicted to it too, right? I will send her things too. Oh, look at this, because I know she's on it. So I'm trying to send her things that I feel are helpful and encouraging, but it's
Hmm.
still within this confine of this device. And sometimes I wonder, is that good or not? So, yeah, we're at 20 minutes, and I didn't think that we would be just
Ah.
talking about, yeah, all
Well, one thing I wanted to bring
right.
up, since we're on this topic, is I just saw this post by Zuckerberg how Instagram is now going to automatically dub your voice in whatever language the receiver, the person looking at the reel, speaks. So I guess I'm assuming it's based on the language you select on your iPhone or whatever Apple device. So
So is it AI? Is it AI that's doing that?
yeah, yeah. So I guess whatever device you have, whatever language you pick, I'm guessing, or maybe there's going to be an option within the app itself, within Instagram itself, where you'll select the language that you speak, and it's going to automatically translate whatever reel it is, whatever language it is, into your language. So right now, he said they're starting with English and Spanish. Imagine that's incredible. So that's a good thing
Oh
that's
my
happening.
God.
It's a really good thing that's happening. It's really going to allow people to cross borders and really capture a lot of good things, but also, like you said, a lot of bad things too. So, but I
Wow.
think overall, the effect of just being able to connect with the world is going to be so much greater.
That's true. Again, there's just so
And
many ways
not
that
only
that can be used on the other side. But yes, I
not
do
only is it
think
gonna be
that's cool, though. I do
not
think I
only is
have
it
to
going to
say
be
that that is
not
cool.
only is it going to be dubbed, they're going to lip sync it in the other language, and
Hmm.
it's also going to be in your voice. So um, if I created a reel in Spanish, and
Hmm.
there's a person in the U.S. watching it, they're going to see
Hmm.
me, and the words that are going to be coming out of my mouth are visually going to look like I'm speaking English, and it's going to be in my voice. It's incredible.
Wow. So if we had this, because we refuse to do a video podcast, sorry, people, not happening.
I think
Um,
I think soon we should. I think the world deserves to see our pretty faces. Sometime soon. Sometime soon.
you see, I'm just letting you go. Hey, it's a podcast for a reason.
Yeah.
But yes, I I mean, obviously, we could release this even as an audio podcast with like, images and that sort of thing. on Instagram, but it would be dubbed automatically, which is interesting. This is going to be, again, this is going to be pretty interesting from like a world standing too, because then it becomes, but you know what? I feel like they do this in the UN, like when they have like UN meetings, when someone's speaking in English, like they're people who, I mean, obviously they're translators in the room, but they'll
Hmm.
be able to just like hear in their language,
Yeah, it's
right?
incredible. Incredible. This is gonna
So,
take on a whole new life. I mean, a whole life of its own. It's gonna be incredible the way this is gonna be used.
wow, interesting. I wonder too, though, if this is going to be a way for people to learn other languages easier. Because if
Mm,
you could change the language, let's say,
yeah.
right, you listen,
Facial
you
use.
see
Yeah.
something,
Wow.
and then you could change the language and listen to something, listen to videos
Yeah.
on Instagram. You know what they're saying, so then you know what the words are. If you do it enough,
Yeah.
you could possibly learn another language.
Yeah.
Hmm. That's pretty cool. Okay, so we talked about that's a little bit about the podcast that I listen to. Hopefully, Stephen will listen to the Brilliant Idiots
Yes, I will.
next week, but we're hoping to have some guests next week too, so we can expand this topic. By the way, just really have to drop this on Reasonably Shady. They talked about a thousand bottles of baby oil, so that was funny. Okay, I love Robin and Giselle. Okay, so um, anyway, outside of that, just in terms of what's happened this week, so I haven't really dug into this and we have this conversation, but the leader of Hezbollah was murdered.
Yeah.
And I understand that's like obviously something really, really huge. I mean, huge. And it was done by the Israelis. And obviously, Hezbollah is known as being a terrorist organization and has been for years. Um, and there's been bombings in Lebanon and all of this. But what I also did hear is not only because sometimes they'll kill a leader and then someone else takes over. There's a vacuum, there's a power vacuum, there's somebody to like step right in the place.
Hmm.
But I did hear on the news some of the things that I've been listening to that it wasn't just um, the leader, but it was also multiple lieutenants. So like 2 to 3 levels of leadership has been picked. So what do you
Interesting.
think about that?
Well, Robbie, I think the world's a complicated, very complicated place. Um, am I glad to hear that the leader of Hezbollah is dead? Probably. Do I think Israel? Do I think Israel is the good actor in all this? No, they're bad guys too. I don't think Netanyahu is also a terrorist in his own right. So, I think he should go next. Let's even the playing field.
Okay, but you don't feel that way about the Israeli people.
No, of course not.
Okay,
What's the problem?
okay,
The,
okay.
the people of the country are not the ones that want to do the terrible things. It's the leadership. It's about their power. It's about territory. It's about money. It's about control. It's not about the average person living on not on the street, but living in the country, the average citizen. The people are good. It's their leaders that are crazy.
I mean, honestly, I don't have a lot of insight to kind of delve into this. I think that I just feel like that area of the world is so complicated because they've just been at it since the beginning of time. I mean, that literally is the seat where a lot of civilization and a lot
Yeah,
of beliefs began.
yeah,
Not the only place, because actually a lot of civilization begins on the continent of Africa.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
whole other conversation.
yeah.
But but that is like a huge part of where a lot of the world began. And there's just so much there. Like I hate
Well,
to use the phrase, but on both sides, there's just so much there on both sides. I do think that.
yeah. Well, if we so this is a whole other session we can get into about the history of Israel, and the true Israelites moved out of that region thousands of years ago. Netanyahu's not actually Israeli. He's half Polish and half some other European, right? So yet he's claiming that's his motherland. Religion and region are two very different things. Just because you're Jewish does not mean that Israel is your motherland. Back 2,000 years ago, it did, because that's where Jews, evolved originally. They were originally in Israel, uh, but then they dispersed throughout the world, and there are very, very few people that have true Israeli DNA from that region. The people that are now living in that region are not authentic Israelites. They're not Israelis.
Okay, I think that they would probably beg to differ because people, when they, hey, this is a conversation. I don't even know if I can go down. I'm glad we're at 30 right now.
This is a whole other session. This is about 5 different podcast sessions we got.
I can't even go there. So, um, all right, I think I'm gonna say on that note, audience.
It's too short. We gotta make it at least 1 hour. This is just
No,
it's
I think it's good
please.
for the beginning. I think it's good for the as we're
Yeah,
building up,
it is absolutely. Yeah, yeah, I
We're
agree.
almost at 10. We're almost at 10. I'm so excited.
Ooh, we should have a little celebration at 10.
We should, right? I think we're going to also have to do well, we're definitely going to have some guests next week. So we got to work on that.
Yeah.
All right. All right. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for joining as always. I'm Robbie, and this is Miscellaneous Candor. Frank, honest, and otherwise outspoken. Please follow, please subscribe. Steven, say goodbye to the people.
Oh,
See you soon.
yes. Goodbye, people. Thanks for joining us once again. Look forward to talking with you all again next week.